Hello, and welcome to Season 2 of Twitch to YouTube. Thank you for staying through the hiatus, and welcome back. We have some exciting conversations and streamers lined up for this season that I am so excited to bring to you. I hope you enjoy them as much as I have recording and making these episodes and having these conversations with these wonderful content creators and equally wonderful people. We will be having 10 episodes this season. That is the plan as of right now. And we are starting today with a wonderful content creator, streamer, and friend, as well as an absolutely amazing gem of a person, Redbeard Flynn. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. And if you feel so inclined, please consider liking this video, leaving a comment down below, subscribing to the channel, and even, if you're willing, hit the little bell for notification for when I release new videos. Now, sit back and enjoy the conversation with Redbeard Flynn. Welcome in. I am here with Redbeard Flynn. Hello, Redbeard. Welcome to Twitch to YouTube. Thank you for
Hi, Jay.
thank you for being the first guest of the second season. We could not have been happier to have you. Are you
I'm really happy to be here.
good? We'll see if you feel that way by the time we're done, but we're happy to have you. Couldn't be happier. Are you feeling well and all is well in Redbeard land, I hope?
I am. I'm feeling really good. I mean, it's a really interesting and introspective time for me coming up on the a year of streaming. So it's a really one of those times when I get to look back and really enjoy myself. So I'm really happy. I'm really
Perfect.
doing really good.
Perfect. We're going to touch on that a little later in the interview. Don't you worry. But so yes. So for those who are unaware of how this format works, it's pretty simple. I have 10 questions that I've prepared. I have not shown them to Redbeard at all. He has no idea what's coming his way. Some are standard questions, and some are tailored just to Redbeard. So I start off asking the same question to everybody. It's a simple question. It all starts in a name. So tell us, how did you come up with the name Redbeard Flynn?
Well, I think part of it might be a little obvious.
Just a little bit.
But the Flynn part, the Flynn's actually it's a character from my book.
Okay.
So essentially that's where it came from. Is I threw together something about me and then something about my mind and just kind of put them together in a name, and that's where it landed.
Oh, perfect. It fits you well, to the point where I actually was my whole disillusion was destroyed, and I will touch on the book in a second when I saw your actual, or at least your pen name, and I was heartbroken to find out your name wasn't Flynn somehow. I thought it was an actual name.
The name change is in the works.
Okay, perfect. There you go.
Yep.
See, thank you. It'll mend my broken heart. So, as you mentioned, you're coming up on a stream anniversary and all that. What made you start the journey of streaming? What made you decide to, I play games, I'm gonna show people that I play games on Twitch?
That's a really good question. So what made me start? Like the initial thought of it. I have to go back to the first streamer, and really the only streamer I ever watched, which was Code Carnage. So I watched Code Carnage, who was a massive streamer, and I watched him because, I started watching him, I think, all the way back in like 2017, and I was going through like a lot of turmoil and things, and I was like, when I was struggling, I would just turn on Code Carnage because it was always something that, it wasn't like something I had to pay a ton of attention to. It was just something that, it was kind of like having a friend in the room.
Yeah.
So it was something like, okay, that's always there. And I actually watched him on YouTube, not on Twitch.
Oh.
I think I've been on like 3 or 4 streams before now in on Twitch. I just watched his VODs.
Right.
And so I watched him play games. And so I was like, that was the initial exposure to Twitch. And then something happened in 2021 where I decided that I have pretty terrible social anxiety. And I decided that one of the things I wanted to do was challenge myself to kind of, in some ways, overcome that. And part of doing that was thinking, well, what if I broadcast myself? What if I broadcast everything that is me and just see what happens? And so it really did start out as, I want to test out this, and I told a group of friends, really close friends, that I wanted to try this, and I was very lucky that one of them just like he offered to do it with me,
Hmm.
and so I didn't have to do it by myself. So, and trying to overcome my social anxiety, I had a friend beside me who did it with me, and that just made such a huge difference.
Oh, that's actually pretty. So we've gotten a wide variety of like stories like that, and I think that's one
Mhm.
of the ones that is always my favorite. Is the sort of because I have as well. I have social anxiety, and as part of
Mhm.
this has certainly helped me get through that. And so to hear a relatable story, and to also hear that you had a friend that was like, you won't have to do it alone. I think things like that
Yeah.
always warm my heart personally, and I always love to hear it. So your community is it basically thrives on, and I would say the lifeblood, if I may be so bold, is the good vibes. It is a such a positive corner. Like there is, no matter what's happening, when I turn on your streams, I just feel in a better mood, even if I'm just lurking and in the background. So how did you create that? If you even are aware of how you created it, because sometimes I've had people tell me it just sprung up. And how do you keep it positive? Because as you know, the world is a place that will try its hardest to beat people down, but yet you still have this beacon of positivity. So how did you create it, and how do you keep it positive and going?
Well, first, I just want to say thank you for that, because that comment you made about how you feel about it, because that means so much to me. It really does.
Mm,
Um, and I think that's essentially the way that I thought about it was, if I'm what would I want in a
mm-hmm.
stream? And it's no coincidence that Good Vibes is also some of what is in Co-Carnage's stream. He's essentially the model for my stream, right? So
Right.
that's where it started. But I think what has happened is my stream has completely evolved to be something different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think part of that's being able to be being a much much smaller streamer and being able to have more interaction.
Right.
Um, but what I've tried to create is a place that I needed.
Yeah.
So a place that I needed back when I was going through some difficulties, a place where I could just go and just enjoy myself,
Mm.
laugh, have fun. And I think it's actually worked in a way where it's kind of gone both it's kind of worked both ways, because when I first started streaming, like my first streams, you can tell how nervous I am and I'm anxious, especially my first streams by myself.
Right.
Um, but then as the community kind of like grew and reacted warmly to me and encouraged me, it became just, I'm just going to be me.
Mm.
And by being me, I think I naturally want to try and entertain, and I naturally want to try and make people feel better. I genuinely care about what people are going through,
Mm-hmm.
but I also know that I'm not able to fix things.
Right.
What I can do is I can try and make them feel, try and at least bring some happiness
Yeah.
is the general goal. And so that's where the good vibes comes from, is I'm trying to infuse at least a little bit of happiness, even if it's just for 10 minutes of the day.
Mm.
If I can make someone smile, then my job is done. And if
Yeah.
I can make someone laugh, even at my own expense, then my
Yeah.
job is done, and I am very happy with that.
Oh, I will say that it is one of those things where it's infectious. It really is. Like I can't, it doesn't matter. So for me, my time zone, you stream in the evenings, and it could be at the end of a day, and it depends. No matter how the day goes, for me personally, I'll put your stream on, and whether I'm actively chatting or just lurking, I can hear the laughs, I can hear the sound alerts, and the all the positivity, and it really does. It makes me smile. It makes me feel better. So it's you're accomplishing the goal that you are setting out to do, as at least to this viewer, and it's something that I've always admired about your community and about the streams, and something I always really liked. So hats off to you. I don't wear hats, but if I did, it would be tipped off to you. Um, Speaking of the stream and the community and all of that, you play a wide variety of games, all types of games. Right now, you're doing sort of the Elden Ring, um, smash face against wall repeatedly. You know, what is the
Yep.
process for deciding I want to play this game and not this game? You know, I'm not going to continue my playthrough with this game for right now. You know, what is that sort of process of deciding this is the game I want to play today?
Yeah, so part of that goes back to my gaming history. So my gaming history started with essentially playing a couple RPGs here and there, but mostly I played massively multiplayer online games.
Mm-hmm.
So for most of my life, I didn't play single player games.
Right.
So there's a whole huge catalog of games that I never played. So the process kind of starts with first thought. The first thought is always going to be, how will this game look on stream? Because I'm aware that, you know, certain games are going to be boring
Right.
to
Yeah.
people, and certain games will be, you know, easier. And then there's also different games that make it easier for me. If like there's, yeah, like for example, Elden Ring is pretty easy because there's things happening often. You know,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of cinematics and cutscenes, so I don't have to just sit back. I can just, there's just stuff happening.
Yeah.
And I can react to those things organically, and it creates, I think, different moments. The things that, those are things that go into consideration of picking a game. The other considerations come from what does the community actually want to see me play. For example, I'll be playing Jump King because a member of the community really wanted me to play that game. I played Outer Wilds because it came so highly recommended. So what I've done is I've kind of opened myself up to, I will try any game.
Right.
But being willing to try any game also means that sometimes I need to give it a break.
Yeah.
I am not very good at completing games. I'm even worse than I seem on stream, though. I think in my history, I've probably completed maybe 4 single player games, and that's not an exaggeration. Maybe 5, because I completed all 3 Dragon Age games, and I completed some Dark Alliance games, and then that's like, there's not many games I completed when I played them by myself. I would just kind of like peter out. My interest would change.
Right. Yeah.
And so that kind of plays into the stream a little bit, but there's also a commitment that I need to finish some games so that the stream can see the finish of the game.
Right.
It just may take some time to get there.
Yeah. Slowly but surely, it'll get
Yep.
there. Oh, hold on. Pause. Because I have a issue with Streamlabs.
Of course.
There we go. Okay, so we're good. I'll have to cut that in the middle.
You're good.
Yep. All right. Good. And let's continue. So
Okay.
yes, picking up on what you said about games and the completion rate and things of that nature, it is. There are several games that I've started and not completed off stream. On stream, I tend to it's like it's this weird sort of accountability that like the community kind of, and you know, you are also feeling like you want to, it's not necessarily letting people down, but I'm a viewer who goes for the streamer less than the game, but you still get invested in the game, you know, so
Yeah.
you are cognizant of that as a streamer, at least I am, and where I'm like, okay, they may not be here just for the game, they may be here to hang out or have background noise or whatever, but maybe there are people that are invested in it, so let me make sure that I at least finish this game. There haven't been many games, I will say, that I had to struggle to finish. I don't know if there are any in your catalog that you stream that you struggled to finish. If there were, were there any games that you struggled to finish on stream? And if so, which one were they?
Well, there's one that I don't think I'll ever finish, and it's not really anything against the game.
Okay.
But I started streaming Kakarot,
Mm-hmm.
and as much as I loved DBZ as a kid, it's like it's an open world version of the game. It's not just like a story to story thing, and I think also part of it was just a realization that a lot of my community was not interested. So it's kind of a 2-part thing. Is if, like, for me, games are enhanced by the community.
Yes.
I don't actually think that I would have played Neo, my first Souls-like, if it were not for the community. I would have given up.
Right. Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have had fun.
Yeah.
But the community creates moments that make it more fun for me, and then it's like it's a shared experience. the whole part of it is like when you achieve something, you achieve it all together,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know, and like it enhances the game so much. And you're right on. We're talking about like there's this it's not necessarily like a neat, but a feeling of I want to finish this game for these people.
Yeah.
Um, like for example, uh, Dragon Age Origins is a game that I will finish on stream, and I'll finish on stream because it was voted for, and there's a lot of people that are very invested in it story wise, and they want to see the like play through the whole story.
Right.
And it can drag at times, but it's still a wonderful RPG. It's one of my favorite RPGs I ever played, but it's also older. It's an
Yeah.
older game.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where I do want to finish it for the people that really love that game. And then you also get the people that come in for the games.
Yeah.
And like, okay, well, they're not here for me. They're here for the game.
Yeah.
And there are people, and you'd hope they stick around for you.
Yeah.
Or for the community. And I mean, but it does happen where there's people that just want to see the game.
Yeah. And listen, it's fair to them. The funny thing is, we're not sitting here were it not for Dragon Age Origins, because our wonderful friend Tivik streamed Dragon Age Origins, and I was in a Discord that she was in, and I was like, I didn't think people streamed this, and so I went to her community, and she is as wonderful as she is, and I was also greeted by Maggie, and there were some other members of our community that are still around now, Fletman and Blue Thunder and a few others that were there then. In 2 years ago, 2 years ago from 4 days from now. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So it's been a long time. So Dragon Age Origins is one of those games that's close to my heart. But I do understand it. It is an older game, and it is one of those games where you have a silent protagonist. The cutscenes, while good in a lot of respects, but when they involve your character, it can kind of break because everybody else is talking and you have paragraphs of dialogue you have to read and decide through and all of that. So it could also break the flow of the game. But I completely understand that. As far as Dragon Ball Z is concerned, they stopped making good Dragon Ball Z games after, I think it was whichever one lets you create your own character. And
yeah, I know which one you're talking about. It wasn't Budokai, was it?
The Ultimate Budokai or something like that, or Ultimate Tenkaichi, something like that, where you created your own character, any race, any outfit you wanted on. Even that wasn't really a great game, honestly, but it was, you get to live out the fantasy of creating your own sort of DBZ universe character.
Yeah.
After that, they've all gone downhill. So your wife, Bluebell, is a large part of your stream. And deservedly so, obviously. But you two have a competition between each other on stream that you involve your community in. How did that start? How did this come about? How did the Blues Bells versus the Reds Reapers, the Redeems that are on your stream, and all of that stuff? What was the genesis of all of it? Take us through the journey of how we got from the start to where we are today, which I believe had you dressing up in it was a dress at one point, I believe, right? Was the explain to us the exact forfeit that you had to do there, and how the journey was to creating this.
So I'm not sure when it started, but Bluebell's been an amazing support in the only way I can do this. And she's just an incredible person in general.
Yes.
But I think it started because the community, in a lot of ways, especially my mods, make it very clear that they love my wife more than me. And so I wanted to kind of make that fun. And so the thing that I came up with was making it a kind of a jokey, little competition. And then so it came up with Red vs. Blue, the Halo web series, but also Red and my wife Blue. And so I just started, just kind of keep track. And I put the points at 10,000, which to me was really high. And it would be, really easy to keep track of. It is not easy to keep track of at all. And we did it for about 6 months, about 7 months. And the it even started without like any stakes to it, and then I just thought, you know what, people aren't spending that many points. We had the redeems, and we had my first redeem was a terrible rap where I did at least get to shout out a fellow streamer, Stu.0, which was fun.
Yes.
And then Bluebell, she has a beautiful singing voice, and
Yes.
so she sang, and so it was fun. But I thought that we should add something else. So the stakes that we added were, well, the loser would have to cosplay as the winner.
Yes.
So my wife won on the last day by 2 votes, and Emma, another wonderful streamer, likes to remind me that she was the one who pushed over the victory for Bluebell. So I did. So I paid up the stakes. I cosplayed as my wife. Had a wig, makeup, everything, and a dress. 2 different dresses actually, because she likes to do scene. She likes to do costume changes. So it was fun, and it's become something that's a lot of fun in the stream. Her redeems are beautiful, and mine are cringy, and I'm okay with that. I do want to try and make them a little bit better. The most recent one, I tried to up the production value a little bit. Perhaps not the singing value, but the production at least.
Well,
and yeah.
Yeah, no, the production value is great. I think you've hit you have the sort of cross between like a really deep voiced singer and the William Shatner spoken voice sort of Slim Shady rap that he did at one point. So you found that sweet spot between someone really, really deep voiced and William Shatner. So I think
there we go. Perfect.
Yeah. So how do you come up with the forfeits? Who comes up with them? How do you decide, was it just on a whim? Because now this season, or this, I guess you call them seasons, right? Because you did the first version, and now we're on to the second. It is, you guys have to cosplay as each other's high school music tastes? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. So who comes up with the forfeits for this?
So generally I come up with the ideas. And then I take them to Blue and say, like, kind of ask her, like, would she be comfortable with this?
Yeah.
And then we kind of workshop it from there and decide, like, can we do this? And then we have to go through well, if whoever wins, what would they do? And to make sure that it's feasible for us to do, and that it would be something that would be at least interesting.
Yeah.
To the people watching. So if it's not interesting, then the idea is gone. Or if it's too difficult, or if it would cost too much money, or those kind of things.
Yeah.
So it's a whole conversation between Blue and I to figure out what would work and what wouldn't work. But that's essentially where it is. It's just that I come up with some silly idea, and then I ask Blue if it's dumb.
Well, they've taken off, and it's been wonderful. I've been in your community for a while now. I'd say maybe 8, 9, maybe even longer months, and to see it sort of evolve, and to see all the people, it's like, it's funny to see in chat, like, almost a bargain trading. It's like, but if you vote for this one, you get this redeemed. but if you vote this way, you get to see, red or blue dressed like this or that. So it's sort of this really wonderful community engagement. It's wholesome. It's really, again, it ties in with the good vibes, right? Because if you're having if you're having a not so great day, you come into a place like that and people are having fun and chatting with each other and just sort of having that good time, you sort of just lift a little, so it's again one of those organic things that ties into it perfectly.
I'll tell you, just to add one thing.
Absolutely.
And I won't say the community member's name, but they mentioned that they had been having a rough week, and they said one thing that makes them happy is the Reds Reapers redeem, and that single comment from one person has cemented that will be there as long as it's feasible to be there, because if that can make someone happy, it's something I love to do.
Exactly.
Because the idea that they were having a rough time and they just wanted to see some cringy shit, or that's why it's there. And the fact that I was able to do that in that one instance means that it worked.
And I completely understand how that I mean, I can only imagine how that feels as a content creator to, you make this thing, and you sort of are like, is it good enough? Is it, because we're all human, right? We all have those brain worms where you're just like, is this really, you critique every little thing you do, and you're like, oh
Hmm.
God, why did I look that way, or why did I say this word that way, or why did there's a little bit of feedback in this frame, and then here comes somebody who's like, I just was having a bad week, and this is the one thing that it makes me happy, and it just, I can only imagine as a content creator how it must feel.
It's everything. Like
Yeah.
it's the reason why I do it. Like that's not necessarily for the feeling of feedback, but being able to impact anyone in that way makes it
Right.
all worth it. It makes all the work worth it,
Right.
because just being able to have that one positive impact,
Yeah.
it just makes it so worth it.
I'm willing to wager that you have many more positive impacts than even you are even aware of, because I am sure there are many people that are like me that just lurk in the background and just have a quiet little smile on their face while they're listening to you constantly go against the same boss, and just,
And all the
sarcastically.
F-bomb.
Yeah, yeah. How
Thank you. Thank you.
how did that start? So a lot of streamers, you are not a ragey streamer by any stretch of the imagination. That is not who you are. But you have a counter for F
Mhm.
bombs. How was that, just on the fly, or was that something like tongue in cheek, because you do curse like every other person, but
I think it came from, I realized, so originally I was going to be a family friendly stream, which if you've been in my stream for any amount of time, you know that that's,
yeah.
yeah. Um, but I think it came like, well, when I decided to not be family friendly, my reasoning was I'm not going to be able to stop myself from cussing.
Mm,
Um, and I realized, like, F bombs are going to be the main thing that would make it not okay to be family friendly.
right.
So I decided, I realized, like, as I was doing it, like, I say it a lot, like I say it a whole lot. So I was like, let's just add a counter, because that could be something fun for
Mm,
people to do. We already had a death counter at that point, and I was like, this is just another counter that we can add in. And I actually at one point did a was playing Vermintide with a friend of ours, and so we did a competition, and like, so she had an F bomb counter and I had an F bomb counter. I won. Just saying. um, but no, I think that's where it came from. Is just this. I'm not going to be able to. I cuss for emphasis, and it just kind of comes out, and it's never
mm,
like, I don't necessarily cuss like in an. You said I'm not a rage streamer. I'm really not.
yeah.
Um, and it's just kind of, it's like a garnish that I use very liberally on all food that I eat.
I, I
So
I will say, I think at the last count, the F bomb counter was somewhere in the 3200s, something, maybe even
yeah.
north of that. It's funny. I have interviewed a bunch of streamers, and some of them will say, at first I was almost family friendly, or I had a thought of being family friendly, and to a person, none of them are family friendly. I mean, obviously, because any place I am, it stops being family friendly just because my humor. And there's also another community member that I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about. You put us in the same place, family friendly goes out the
Yeah.
window.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's. I always find it a little humorous or ironic when we talk about family friendly streams, and the things that could have been. Um, but let's shift a little bit to your career as an author. You have
Okay.
two published, not public, they are public, but they're published more importantly, books. One of them is on the
Hmm.
shelf right behind you. Is Rise and Stand. Yes, available on Amazon.com. The link will be in the description. Please go check it out. Highly recommend it. Tell us the journey. What started the journey of writing books? Like, you know, what was the impetus to be like, I have this story that I want to tell and I want to go through it, and how long from that idea to today has it been?
I have to go to kind of answer that question. I have to go back briefly to high school,
Mm,
and where I was spending a lot of time alone, and so I was reading a ton.
Right.
And I remember I was reading Dragonlance novels, and I remember thinking back then, I was like, I finished the book, and I was like, wait, but what if this happens? And I don't want this to end, because it was the entire end of a very long story.
Right.
I was like, but I want more.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided then that I was just gonna write some more. You know, I think like, and I wasn't necessarily writing like fan fiction, but it was just kind of like that's where it started. And then I wrote my first story, which will never see the light of day. It's awful. I still have it. I'll tell you the name, because the name is so freaking cringy that like it's like I was an edgelord in high school. It's called Tears of Onyx, and it had to do with vampires. But yeah. And so like that, but from there I was like, okay, I mean, I had a teacher that was supportive of me. I had a lot of other people that were not supportive of me. I think at one point my principal called my books erotica, so that was cool. And kind of tried to dissuade me, but I had also people that were supportive. And but then I got kind of sidetracked with academics, and so it all went to the side. And then after I got my degrees, I was thinking about writing again. I'd been reading a lot, and I just decided to just try and write something. I wrote it, and I gave it to some people to see, and their positive reactions to it made me decide to write again.
Right.
And that I think is where a lot of my thought process in philosophy comes in, is when someone is showing you something they've created, it costs nothing to be nice.
Yes.
Because you can inspire them to do more.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying like fake it, like don't.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like build them up for no reason.
Yeah.
But if you see the kernel there, start nurturing it. Because if you nurture it, then it can grow into something amazing. And I owe a lot to those people that were nice to me about my writing. When if I read it now, it's like, that's shit. But I'm also pretty self-critical, so
yeah.
But that was really what happened. And then I just started writing, and I had this one idea, and I changed, and then it became this whole other thing. And it took me from the time I started writing it, the first book took about 2 years, from the time I started writing the first draft to the time it was completely published. And the second book was about the same, about 2 years.
Okay. I laughed a little at the fan fiction or the high school part of the story, because I had a very similar journey. I started with Halo, and thankfully my first ever was handwritten on a little notebook. So it is lost to the annals of history. Thankfully, nobody could blackmail me with it. But I have a digital version of a second draft of that story that is equally cringe and will equally stay hidden, long, deep buried in a vault somewhere. But
Jay, maybe I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
Yeah, you might regret your ability to read. But yeah, no. So that it starts like, and it's true. I know what you mean, because I had the greatest compliment I ever got was from a college English professor who, she graded one of my papers or something, and she looked at me. She goes, "You're such a good writer." It was literally just that just like you said, inspired me to do more. And I wrote columns for my college newsletter, and people would stop me and be like, awesome. Your columns are the ones that speak to me. Yours are the ones that, like, I stop and I feel like they're talking to me. The only one. So it's things like that. And, you're right. Don't fake it, but you can you can have constructive criticism.
Yeah.
You don't have to, be like, hey, this is complete dog shit. You can be like, perhaps ask questions is my sort of advice to people who are trying to figure out how to give constructive criticism. If you've never, because it's hard to figure out where the line between constructive criticism and just, smacking someone upside the head is. My advice is always just ask questions. Figure out, try to get them to sort of explain to you what their idea was if you don't understand it. Don't be like, this is dumb, I don't understand it. Just be like, well, what was going on here? What was the idea behind this? Because I came away with X. Is that what you were trying to tell me? And it helps, so... It
does.
Yeah. So I highly encourage everybody to pick up your books. I want some hard copies so I can put in my background. So they're coming my way. Don't you worry. But I highly recommend them. What has the sort of positive reception in the Twitch community? Because you did open them up to you've been streaming for 1 year, and these books have taken a collective 4 years of writing. So you've
Hmm.
obviously had at least one written before you started streaming, if not both. What
Hmm.
is the positive reaction? Because I see it all the time from people and on streams, and it's in discords and all of that. What has that meant to you as an author and as a person?
It's hard to put into words. The first time, and perhaps the only time I teared up on stream was when it came in with a tip, and the tip is irrelevant. That
Mm,
doesn't. That's it's. It was a comment about my book. It was someone who had read the book, and I think it was the first person who had read the book and commented on it. And they essentially said I only paid X amount, like I think it was like 99 cents for this book,
mm,
but after reading it, it deserves to be it deserves to be more.
mm,
Um, and it was like like it hit me hard because it was just like, well, you liked it that much, like you and it's one of those things where, as an author you struggle a
yeah.
lot of times to gain traction, to gain exposure. It's difficult. There's a
Mm,
lot of authors out there, and I'd had people say nice things before. I mean, my editor has said very nice things. My family members, friends, and then I had it sent out to bloggers, and some bloggers said some very nice things, some constructive things. But I think it was just like it was like they the community didn't have to read
yeah.
it. They chose to. And a lot of times one of the things I hear, and it touches deeply, is they're like, well, I got the book because I wanted to support you.
Mm,
And then they say, but I really enjoyed it. And like it almost comes out like, well, like, like they were not expecting it to be good.
mm,
you know but then like hearing that, and just like they like it just, it really it means everything.
mm,
And it's people you don't expect have read it, and they've reached out, and they've said things. They've said nice things in public, they've said nice things in private. And one of the coolest things to me was a dear friend of mine was talking back and forth with me as they were reading. So
mm,
they were like reacting to things
yeah.
as they were happening, and then, like, that was like, this is the most amazing thing that's ever happened in my books,
Yeah.
is having someone react to what you wrote,
Mm,
and then being excited and be like, oh wait, but wait till the next thing that happens. Like, you can't tell them because
yeah.
you don't want to spoil it, but you're like, oh.
Mm,
And then they'll have, like, they'll tell you like what they presume is going to happen, what they think's going to happen, like, oh, just wait. And
mm,
it's just amazing to have that kind of connection, and to have that connection with people that are reading something that you poured so much time into,
yeah.
so much time, and honestly so much money. um
Yeah.
Editing's not cheap, y'all, but
It's really
like,
not.
it was just, it means so much.
Yeah.
It really does, because it's been a passion of mine dating all the way back to high school. And it's something I worked on, and it means a lot. I'm not going to try and discount like other content creation like YouTube and Twitch. That means a lot too,
Mm-hmm.
but this is a different kind
Yeah.
of thing, where it's that much more work has gone into it over years.
Plus, I think there's an old saying that says writing, it tells you a lot about the author. And so writing is very personal. At least for me, in the sense of, like, I am more. I mean, I've shared writing that I've done with people with no issue, but I'll read it and I'll be like, okay, I've revealed a little bit more about myself than maybe I was even intending to.
Yep.
So I understand what you mean about it being a different sense of content creation, because there is more. It's more personal. There is more you in it than even sometimes I dare say the author even realizes. Like, as I said, I've gone back and read it and go, that's a little close. We're hitting a little close to home. Let's see if we could phrase this a little
Yeah.
different, or maybe change a word here or there. But I will say it's very well deserved. A love and adulation. So as I say again, get these books. I hope there is no pressure, absolutely, but I do hope there are more books coming out in the future from this wonderful author that is sitting here with me today.
That's, finally you mentioned that, the not the more, there is one that's currently being worked on. But one other thing that I want to add about how this Twitch community has helped with writing specifically is
Mm-hmm.
I am terrible at promoting myself. um, and I would always be like, especially because my books, the genre doesn't necessarily fit. It's a little bit of a difficult genre to explain, so I'd always get stopped up, and I wouldn't know how to say
Yeah.
what. And then I would talk down about it, and I would. It's like, if you want to read it, and maybe let me give it to you for free.
Mm.
And I'll be honest, I still say the let me give it to you for free part, but what the community has done is kind of forcefully, like forceful love. Um, they've made me promote them more
Mm-hmm.
myself, and made me take more pride in them. And I'm now 4 years after starting, or actually it's now 6 years because I started in oh shit. Oh, I'm just gonna make myself feel old. But it's made me feel proud
Yeah.
of my writing, really for the first time, where I can just say, yeah, I like it, it's good.
Mm.
And for me to be able to say that, anyone who's known me for any amount of time, like, did he say that? Did
Mm.
he really just say that? Because I haven't.
Yeah.
And the community has been so supportive and so amazing in that I owe them so much.
It's one
And I
of
think in general I owe the community so much.
Well, I think it's a symbiotic relationship because again, remember what you do for your community is you make people, as we've said several times, they can be having a bad day and you sort of lift them up by virtue of you being you. So it goes back and forth. It's a two-way street. So when you look at the scales, no, it's more even than you would imagine it to be. Um, but yeah, no, I remember several times you came into my stream and I had to sort of berate you and harass you to put a link for your books
Yeah, yeah.
in the chat. So yes, I do. I was part of the harassment brigade. Just
Yes.
sort of put the link. Go ahead,
Yep.
please put the link.
Yep.
So yeah, but I understand. It's one of those things where even if you're proud of what you write, it's just self promotion can be very difficult. It's
It
one of
is.
those things. I ran for political office, and one of the things that they tell you is you have to be comfortable with doing the uncomfortable, which is asking for money. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, you have to be like hitting people up for money constantly, and it's self promotion. I view sort of very similar in the sense of you have to be willing to go into a chat room or go into a on Twitter or go somewhere where nobody is having a conversation about what you're about to post about, and sort of ring a bell and be like, hey, right here, I did this thing, and
Yeah.
I'm somebody
Yeah.
who doesn't want attention on them. So
Yeah.
to do that is so antithetical to who I am. So
Hmm.
I completely understand the difficulty with self promotion, but they are worthy of promoting. Be proud of them because they are worthy of pride.
Thank you.
We've touched on this a few times. This recording will be done the day before your streamiversary, but will be released afterwards. So you
Hmm.
haven't done the streamiversary quite yet, but you are coming upon your 1 year streamiversary. Tell me
Yes.
what that journey, all encompassing journey, has meant to you, the person. You can phone a friend if you'd like, or you can. What is it? Eliminate two of the four answers. But no, tell us what that journey has meant to you, the person. That now that we're on the eve of a 1 year streamiversary.
I think I think there's different times in my life where I can pinpoint, like, okay, this is where I took a big leap forward
Mm-hmm.
in the person I was and the person I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this whole year has been one of those leaps forward.
Mm.
And I think it's to get a little personal about it, it's the first time where I've been able to be myself in front of anyone except for my wife,
Right.
and be accepted for it. And it sounds simple enough, but that is a huge thing.
Oh yeah.
And it's a huge thing to feel that way in a very public space. To feel like just being you is something people want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've gone through a lot of through the whole year, a lot of personal growth, I think. But beyond that, I think one of the most important things to me is I've made some incredible friends, and it's just like there's like two different parts. There's the professional side where I've learned different things. Like I've learned like editing and things like that, and how to better manage my time, because content creation takes a lot of time.
Oh yes. Oh
And
yes.
it's still a process. I'm still, there's still too many nights that I stay up way too late working and not devoting enough time to other people. But the friendship part, the friendship part is, I think, the part I did not expect.
Yep.
And it's the part that has just kind of really, it's like I said, it's taken me by surprise, but it's been amazing. I mean, it's like some of the friends I've made, some of the people that I've talked to, and like it's crazy to think it's been a year, but there are people that I talk to that I feel like I've known them my whole life.
Yep.
There are people from the community that I've talked to that I feel like I could share anything with.
Yep.
And I feel like I could, if I was in need, they'd be here, or if they were in need, I'd be there. And it's I think one of the most amazing, wonderful things about the year is those friendships themselves, and I'm eternally grateful for them.
And I will tell you again, I feel like we have, at least from where I stand, a lot of what you say is very relatable, because I've been in communities. I've only streamed for a year and a half. I started streaming in July of 2020, so I haven't quite hit the 2 year mark. But I've been around amazingly supportive people for 2 years, and it's that sort of just that acceptance, that unconditional acceptance, will change a person's life in ways you can't explain. I
It
mean,
really will.
even before I started streaming, having friends that are they just want to be around you for you. They don't want anything from you. They don't want, they're not hitting you up for money or hitting you up for favors they're just like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah.
A simple check-in, a simple good morning, a simple how's it going, a simple, you know, somebody, for example, I have sort of a certain anxiety about a certain thing, and I had to go through it on Monday, and just somebody
Hmm.
was like, without even me mentioning the anxiety or that I was anxious or whatever, just hit me up and goes, "Hey, I hope it goes well. I hope this thing is going well," or "How did it go?" Or just that sort of just that I call it finding your tribe. And when you
Yeah.
find your tribe, it changes your life. And so I think anybody who, even in a non-content creation, as a member of a community, to be welcomed in and to be like, just have conversations and all of that is I think they all understand at home watching and how impactful that is and how important that is. And
Yeah.
I'm so very happy that you found that through streaming, because you definitely deserve it, because you're an amazing person. It's a lot of fun to get to hang out with you and all of those things, and I'm sure everybody who watches will agree. So we're gonna wrap it up with one final question. It's sort of a
Okay.
question meant to have fun, but I will tell you,
Okay.
I've stumped. I wouldn't say everybody, almost everybody with this question. I get partial answers. I get, here and there, and I get a lot of times I get "Oh my goodness, how could you ask me this?" So here we go.
Okay.
Favorite stream you've done?
Oh shit. I guess I didn't add to the F-bomb counter.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
Oh man. Let me buy some time by going back to what you're saying. Jay, you're an amazing person.
Well,
I just
thank
want
you.
you to know that,
I appreciate that.
because I've been around you for just as many months as you've been around me, and you are one of the most supportive people that I've found on this platform. So I want to take this moment while I'm just to say that thank you for you being you, because really you are super supportive, and I see it with lots of people how supportive you are. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that, and I do take that to heart, and I'm very, very happy that you feel supported and loved and cared for by me, because that is the energy I put out. So thank you so very much for that. And now to get on your bad side, you still have to answer the question.
Um,
You can, if you want an out, I'll give you an out. You could even pick a moment. It doesn't have to be or a collection of moments. You can pick 2 or 3 moments, which is the partial answer that I've gotten as well. I've gotten people tell me, well, I can't give you a favorite stream, but I can give you a favorite top 5 moments or something like that. So if you need an offshoot, you can use that.
I mean, favorite stream is difficult to say. Until recently.
Okay.
So, my favorite stream was just, was it last week? It was the first stream that I did for the Tibbs fundraiser. And if you would have asked me before that, it probably would have been a very difficult question for me to ask, because I've had a lot of streams where I have loved what I did. I've loved the interaction with the community and everything like that. But it was that stream where I felt part of something big. It was that stream where I felt like what I'm doing is important.
Yeah.
And I was doing it for a person who's very kind and who would do it for others. And I was doing it with so many other people that are amazing and wonderful. And it was for such a good cause, and it just felt good. It felt important. And personally, it was a stream where I didn't do shit. I dressed up in a cosplay and I did 2 conversations in Dragon Age Origins, and it lasted like 7 hours. And I just had such a wonderful time talking to everybody, playing clips of Tibbs and seeing donations come in. It was just an amazing experience. It's an amazing thing to be part of. It comes from a terrible place.
Yeah.
But it comes from seeing the way people rallied around this cause. It's one of those things where, and I may overuse this term, but it's one of those things that just fills your heart.
Yep.
And it just, that is, right now, that is my favorite stream. Yeah. That one stream.
And I think I participated as well, and I will tell you, I agree with everything you said, and you put it in a phrase. You put it in my when I was streaming, when I was doing the part of the streamathon. You put it in a phrase that was perfect and succinct, and which is why you're the published author. It was the most important thing I've done on Twitch, and it is the thing I am single most proud of doing, being able to be a part of that, because I hate the reason why we had to do it, but I am so happy and proud of the fact that we were able to and come together, and 18 streamers from all over the world and all of different types of interest and communities and all that, united by one thing, which is Tibbs and her wonderfulness and generosity, and we were all able to do a little something to help, and that was amazing. And I just want to say, hats off to everybody who organized it. Guybrush and Maggie Laughs and Rose, those were and just seeing the Google Calendar sort of just fill up day by day was something it was amazing. So, and all it is was to somebody who I know for me personally, I owe Tibbs more than I could ever repay. It was within her community that I found all the people that are people that are, like you say, that I could tell anything to. They'd be here if I needed something, and I there if they needed something. So, again, hated that it had to be done, but loved seeing everybody rally around when the chips were down and saying, you know what, we have our platforms, we will do something. And, of course, who doesn't love seeing Tibbs clips and,
right?
Who doesn't love seeing some Tibbs clips?
I felt like the stream quality went up every time I played some Tibbs clips.
Absolutely. I mean, it's I think she classes up any stream, no matter who's streaming.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just all the love goes out to Tibbs, and if anybody sees this and is in contact with her, or if she sees it, all the love from us to you always, and we are happy that you personally are safe. Redbeard, you have survived the interview. Are you feeling just as happy as you were some 53 minutes ago when we started this endeavor?
Happier. This is wonderful. This was fantastic.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I had a wonderful time, and I'm sure
Me
the
too.
people watching will have an equally wonderful time. So I want to say
I hope
thank
so.
you again. All Redbeard's links are in the description. Give him a follow on every site. And if you're following him already, you know what? Create a second account. Follow him again. Double the Redbeard.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'll be back in a moment with the conclusion of the episode. Once again, thank you to Redbeard Flynn for joining us and for being so open and wonderful. I'll see you in a moment. And that was the conversation with Redbeard Flynn. I want to thank Redbeard once again for coming on and for being such a wonderful, gracious guest. I hope you at home enjoyed the conversation. And if you're not already following Redbeard, I highly suggest following all his social media and pages are down below in the description. And we will be back next week with an even equally as amazing guest. And stay tuned for that. Thank you once again for you at home for watching. And if you would like to like this video, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and if you feel so inclined, perhaps hitting the notification bell to be notified when I release new content. Thank you again for watching, and stay safe, and I will see you next time.